And for more on today's summit, let's bring in CTV News political commentator Scott Reid. Always appreciate your time, Scott. Always a good opportunity when you get, the Foreign Affairs Minister and the Secretary of State together. Whether or not something comes out of this, I would assume it's good that at least we're talking.
That's exactly it. And I wouldn't expect any breakthroughs, but, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, has a reputation for being more reasonable, moderate member of Trump's cabinet. In light of recent events, obviously talks have broken down between Canada and the United States on trade. So just having that point of contact, trying to have a civil dialogue, being in agreement around the table on a variety of other international issues. All of that is positive, might not be exciting, might not produce some sort of massive breakthrough, but it's good diplomatic work, as you would expect from your foreign affairs minister.
Let's talk about some of those foreign affairs issues. We'll begin with Ukraine. We just heard about more sanctions on some Russian officials. And, with the exception of maybe some of the other conflicts, this is a conflict where, Canada has been very supportive of the Ukrainian efforts. And it's been a little turbulent, I guess, in the Trump administration with some of the views. What are you expecting to be discussed on that front?
Well, we are finally, it seems, knock on wood, at a point where we are in agreement as an international community, including the United States, on standing firmly opposed to Putin. Trump has talked as though he's been burned by Putin, and now he's upset with him. So these sanctions are almost to be expected at these international gatherings of G7 leaders or G7 foreign affairs ministers. So it's good to see that they're continuing with the concurrence of the United States. But again, where is the end? How do we actually extricate Ukraine from this aggression, and what are the consequences of that? It really requires, if we're going to be blunt, direct and effective American intervention. And Trump has been wildly inconsistent on this question because of this on-again, off-again bromance that he appears to have with Vladimir Putin.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on given the current state of the relationship between the two countries and the ongoing trade war. Do you think that Canada's position on the Middle East, does that play into these conversations regarding the economy? Because obviously the U.S. administration, and specifically Marco Rubio, has been very critical about Canada's decision to recognize a Palestinian state. They called it reckless. They said it was rewarding terrorism. Do you think Canada's position on that hinders their ability to get a trade deal?
It's difficult to gauge whether it has a lingering consequential impact there. The Americans don't say that it does. They objected to the decision, but they quickly moved on. And even a couple of days after, the president sort of dismissed it as a source of irritation between the two countries. I think the tensions are more owing to the fundamental ambitions that the president has with respect to tariffs, which is that he wants to impose them on partners all around the world. And, there's one takeaway I would have about this. Obviously, you're going to have foreign affairs ministers talking about Ukraine, given the global situation. But look at all the other countries that have been invited. Look at the fact that Brazil is there, and India is there, Mexico is there. 8, 9, 10 additional foreign affairs leaders and countries represented. From my perspective, what you're witnessing here is Trump versus the world. And, you're seeing that as he cuts off ties and therefore undermines economic growth and prosperity with all these nations internationally. Countries like Canada are saying, all right, well, then I'll deal with Brazil. All right, then I guess I'll deal with India. I'll deal with China. I have no alternative. The U.S. is going to deny access to its markets. Then the rest of us had better talk. And you bring foreign affairs ministers around the table, not just the G7, but all those other major trading nations, so they can build conversations and try to create some potential of trade with those other countries. And, it really is Trump versus the world kind of dynamic at these meetings now.
CTV News political commentator Scott Reid, appreciate your time. Thank you.